Niall Boylan at night is controversial and confrontational and may cause offence to some. Listener discretion is advised.
4FM.
All right, keep texting 53544. This was on the front of our papers this morning, that it was claimed that one of the terrorists involved in the London attack said they had already done military observations at a number of locations in the city of Ireland, in Dublin, shall I say, including a nationally known family-friendly tourist attraction. Now, there's loads of people, by the way, guessing as to where that might have been. We're not in the business tonight of guessing where this particular attraction might have been or what it might have been. I see Morris and a few others guessing where it was. But I want to know what you think. Do you, for example, agree that maybe something like Donald Trump's travel ban, maybe not a ban so much, but certainly more racial profiling would be acceptable at the airports, whereby people coming from countries that would be considered Muslim countries, as Donald Trump did, would have to go through a more rigorous security or enforcement, or would that be racial profiling and discrimination? Let me know what you think at 53544. Ahmed, you're on Classic Hits. How you doing, Ahmed?
How's it going, Niall? How's it going? How are you?
Good. Ahmed, I mean, this idea of a travel ban, everybody was against, of course, Donald Trump. He couldn't get it through, obviously, the Senate at the time as well. Everybody was against the idea, but some people were saying, well, he was just protecting his country. Now we have a genuine threat where we see, somebody who carried out an atrocity in London, was planning on doing it right here in Dublin.
Where did we hear about that, actually, Niall?
Well, I read it this morning.
Earlier on.
Yeah, I read it this morning, actually, in the Mirror. I think it was in this morning, actually, wasn't it? In the Mirror?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if that gives it a lot of credibility, but it is true, Ahmed. Take my word for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Niall, I'm not saying all media news outlets are phony, but I think if it was such a serious thing, it should have been all over the headlines to highlight how serious this was, because to me that's very serious.
Well, it is serious, isn't it?
Yeah, it was only specifically in the Mirror. But back to the topic then, and I'm not discrediting the Mirror when it comes to that. Of course, anywhere in Europe is a threat.
It was actually, just to clarify, I've just been shouted in my ear. It was actually in the Independent and the Times as well.
In the Independent and the Times. Okay, yeah, that's it's gaining publicity.
It's gaining credibility anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it said the report claimed that the pair carried out what they call military observations on a number of locations in Dublin, it says in the city, including a nationally known family-friendly tourist attraction. It also said the decision was rejected and probably equally worrying because it was deemed that Ireland would suit ISIS better as a logistic base from where internet frauds could be carried out to raise funds. In other words, they decided, well, look, we leave Ireland just for the moment and we can actually raise funds from there. But we do know that one of the terrorists responsible was living in Rathmines.
That's true, yeah. That's very
okay, so
true.
from that point, Ahmed, do you believe that a travel ban would be out of the question, or racial profiling is out of the question?
I personally, look, I might sound biased, but I'm going to disagree with this for the very point is that it's going to create a lot of division. It's going to create the whole attitude of us versus them, and I think that's... Well,
it is us versus them, and I don't mean against Muslims, but against terrorists.
Yeah. But you see, people are going to assume it's going to go into the subconscious, Niall, that, again, it's going to be all Muslims being profiled. And even myself as a Muslim, I even have it in my subconscious now that the moment I hear terrorism is Muslim, and that's when I go back to...
But that's because that's what we're being... worldwide, that's what we're being subjected to at the moment. I'm not suggesting for a minute that all Muslims are terrorists, because they're clearly not. But certainly from what we're seeing around the world, most of the terrorist atrocities that we're seeing are being carried out by Muslims.
Most of the terrorist atrocities that we know of, as we say, that certain ones in America, like the shootings in Columbine and the various shootings that are happening in the schools, they never considered terrorists because I'm not belittling, white people, but it's because they're white. They won't call it a terrorist attack. They'll say it's a lone wolf or he has a mental problem, Mm-hmm. Or it's just the Muslims, they always get the most media when it comes to that.
Because they're all carrying out those attacks for the same motivation. When you take, for example, yes, it seems to have stopped, but mind you, up to recently there was a lot of attacks on schools by youngsters carrying guns who happened to be on Prozac or whatever they were on, right? But those individuals are literally lone wolves who are obviously a bit mentally disturbed in some way, right? They're carrying that out with no motivation whatsoever. There's no link between them all, apart from they're all suffering from some sort of mental delusion. But there's a link between all these terrorist attacks that they are all doing it because of their interpretation of the Quran.
Yeah. But all terrorist attacks, right? you always hear immediately after it happens, you hear the news say ISIS claimed responsibility, but like we never see the proof. Okay, we just assume that it's ISIS. Some of these Muslims, they could also be lone wolves carrying it out, and then ISIS just taking credit for it.
Well, absolutely.
I mean?
I'm not denying that, and I'm pretty sure you're right. Absolutely. But ISIS do claim responsibility because they like to claim the credibility for it.
Yeah, and I'm not and don't get me wrong, I'm not defending ISIS in any way, but I'm just trying to, separate all these issues, and I don't like
Hassan,
the way...
not Hassan, sorry, Ahmed, could I ask you, I mean, are you, you're obviously you changed your name, but to Ahmed, because you're Irish, are you, I'm assuming?
No, I'm Irish-born Muslim. I was always a Muslim.
Okay, but what was were you born Ahmed?
I was born Ahmed, yeah. My mum is Irish and my dad is South African.
Okay, well, then sorry for my assumption, all right. So
no,
I mean,
it's grand.
are you clearly Middle Eastern or African?
No, not at all. But
visually, visually. I mean, do you have a long beard? Do you dress like traditionally?
Visually, I'm brown. I look a bit brown, yeah. But my brother and some of my siblings, they're white. Then again, so like.
The point I'm making is, do you feel that you're being profiled? Say when you come through an airport. When was the last time you walked through an airport?
About a year or two ago, and yes, I was stopped when I got back into Dublin Airport. I do feel the profiling is there, and I do feel the stereotype.
Is it right? Is profiling right? I mean, Michael O'Leary admitted that Ryanair passenger profile on a regular basis, and he believes it's absolutely necessary for the security of all passengers.
That's the thing. Well, if he says it's for all passengers, like
including you,
pardon me,
including you.
Yeah, no. Like, look, personally, I don't like to think about it, but I think the truth is, every Muslim that walks out in the street, or everyone that looks Middle Eastern, or every Muslim lady that wears a scarf, I do believe she is, or they are being profiled, like they're being stereotyped into, okay, yeah, these people could possibly have some sort of link to ISIS, when they're just going about their business in the day, going to work or going to school and all that, and they have nothing to do with it. And, we just really want to disassociate ourselves from all of this, because, like, for example, I mean, I have Catholic relatives and friends, and I don't want anything to happen to them at the end of the day. So this is not any of our favours to be defending ISIS or hiding them, if you want to put it for that matter.
Okay, well, hang on just for a second, because then we go to Hassan. I want to come to Maliki as well. Hassan, you're on Classic Hits. How you doing, Hassan?
Hello, Niall. How are you?
Nice to talk to you again, Hassan. I was quite surprised when I read this story today. I think it was in the Mirror, but Garrett just told me it was in the Independent and the Times as well, that one of these, crazy people, obviously, who carried out these attacks in London, also looked at Dublin as a location for attacks as well. Does that surprise you, firstly?
No, it doesn't. If you remember, we talked about this a long time ago, that Ireland, they are using Ireland as a safe haven. I told you a long time ago, and I don't think we will have well-organized terrorist attacks in Ireland in the way we have in England or France, but isolated assassinations maybe, but not well-organized terrorist attacks, because they don't need it. They are using Ireland as a safe haven, and it's working very well for them, and that's what they're doing. Okay,
and this suggestion or this idea that we should carry out a two-tier system in security, or a travel ban maybe similar to Donald Trump from nations that would be predominantly Muslim, is that acceptable?
Well, first for the travel ban, the international relations is mutual. If you put travel ban on certain countries, they have the right to put travel bans on the Irish citizens, right? So it works both ways. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help. It won't help. I don't think it will help. But the security issue, everybody is talking about increasing the security. But these police officers, these security officers, they are human beings, just like you and me. They cannot do miracles for us. We cannot put, and we should not put, all of our responsibilities on the shoulders of the security.
But it certainly helps. They're our first line of defence.
Yes, it is. But the security is the last option, because prevention is better than treatment.
But
right?
is it not better, when you say prevention is better than treatment, is it not better that people of that nature don't get into the country in the first place?
Well, we don't know who's coming into this country, right? If you put travel ban on, let's say, Muslim nations, right? Mm-hmm. So the ordinary people will be the first victim. The ordinary people, those who are coming here for terrorism, they already have their paperwork done. They can pass through these filters relatively easily. But the victims who are running away from violence are victimized again here because of this ban. So this won't work. What will work is that to make sure that we stick, that the Western countries stick to their post-Enlightenment values, to make sure that anybody, I don't care about your religion, your ideology, your belief system, whatever it is, if it doesn't fit into the post-Enlightenment values we have here, we have to take it seriously. Religion should not give you a credit card or a green card, right? So now the Western countries are compromising with, in particular, the Islamic ideology. They say, well, this is religion. Well, in this religion, there are loads of things that are against our post-Enlightenment values. So if we don't take care of those things, then we are going to suffer more and more. And these bans will only victimize the victims.
So you believe that the majority of peaceful Muslims will suffer because of these types of bans or extra security? People, as Ahmed pointed out, people who are just doing their day-to-day business, travelling to and from.
Yes, listen, we have loads of communities in the West, right? We have Chinese communities, we have Polish communities, we have...
Ireland is... Well, Dublin is set to have one of the biggest mosques in Europe built here. You know.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So if you want to control that mosque. That mosque is funded by the Saudi Arabia, by the other Islamic countries, and these mosques are the source of our trouble, not ordinary people like you and me. These mosques should be controlled. Listen, if we have a school here, and if the principal of a school said, I cannot guarantee that my students will not attack their teachers if they don't like something about their teachers, what would we do about the principal? We would fire that person, right? But in case of mosques, these terrorists are members of different mosques. And these mosques are just immune from analysis, from scrutiny.
Well, I don't know if that's always true, because, Ahmed, I think you suggested before to me that these mosques are not immune to analysis, because many of these mosques, that whatever the imam preaches on whatever day of the week it happens to be, what he says is being analysed on a regular basis. Is that true?
Of course it is. On the mosque council that I'm on, the Friday talk is uploaded onto the website every week, and it's translated into English and Arabic. And as I say, I wanted to say to Hassan, where are these mosques? And I would, if you know of these mosques, then report them to the Gardaí, because the mosque, the main mosque, South Circular Road and Clonskeagh, they work very close with the Gardaí. And as you've seen, even the Taoiseach visited the mosque on Eid Day a couple of months ago. The Gardaí is present at South Circular Road every 2 weeks. So, I mean, I don't know. The only mosques with the schools are South Circular and Clonskeagh. So, where, in which Muslim school are you talking about?
I'd rather you didn't mention the name of the school or the mosque on the air that you believe, Hassan, has a problem, and you can report that to the Gardaí if you do believe there is. Well, but Hassan, do you believe there are mosques that are preaching hatred or encouraging, fundamentalism?
Well, let me ask Ahmed a question. Ahmed, when was the last time that your imam preached to your congregation that the Muslims and Jews and Christians and pagans and Hindus and men and women and homosexuals and heterosexuals are all equal? When was the last time?
I wouldn't be sure, because I haven't been every single Friday.
Do you have any links to post it on Niall Boylan's Facebook page for us to see? When was the last time any imam, the most peaceful imam up to the most radical imam, When was the last time they said all human beings are equal?
The last talk that I attended was about 2 weeks ago, and it was all to do about women, and it would be uploaded onto the website as well. It was nothing to do about the responsibility of men. It was about how to treat women, look after women, and how women have how your mother has a higher status in Islam as to your father.
But did Hassan has made a point, at any point in your mosque or in any of the mosques, have you ever heard an imam saying that Jewish people should be treated equally?
Well, everyone should be treated equally in the law of the land. We have to obey the law of the land that we're in.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
You are just interpreting your imam's word. When was the imam? When did your imam say that? That the Jews and Christians and pagans and infidels and atheists and apostates are all equal.
In the last sermon of the Prophet, it says in the Quran, no white man is superior to a black man, and no Arab is superior to a non-Arab.
Well, you're not giving me a link to your imam's speech, right? And
I just told you 2 weeks ago.
No.
I cannot pinpoint exactly where the week was or whatever it was, going back years.
There is none.
I remember
there is none.
2 weeks ago. Sorry? No.
There is none.
Yes, there is. I can remember 2 weeks ago. I just told you there was one about women there. The Imam isn't going to talk every week about everything into one into one khutbah. It's going to be over a period of time, and maybe I could have missed one of those periods of time, but the last one I just told you there was about women, and they upload the khutbahs, you know.
And was that to get rid of this idea that suggests that in Islam that women are second-class citizens?
Pardon me?
Was that to get rid of this notion that we have that in Islam that women are second-class citizens?
Look, it needs to be addressed in some sort of way that. And do
you believe that people do have that notion? By the way,
of course, yes. Of course, people do have that notion, and I think it's to do with culture as well, you know?
Okay, and you don't feel that way as a Muslim? You don't feel that way?
I would never mistreat my wife or my mother.
Okay, well, stay there a second. Hassan and Ahmed, stay there, please, with me.
They never did, yeah.
We're moving off the subject slightly. But Hassan, do you agree with Maliki's saying that, well, maybe from some of these countries, the 8 or 9 countries that we happen to be discussing at the moment, there should be extra security. In other words, an extra line of security or an extra wave of security.
Well, let me clarify my position with regards to Donald Trump. I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump, but I think he has a point. And these 7 countries, my country of birth included, Iran.
Yep.
These 7 countries had already been listed as the countries of concern by Barack Obama.
Yeah, and by Reagan before that. On board.
Yeah, okay. But
well, did Barack Obama already have a travel ban? He did already put in a travel ban.
A bigger travel ban, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't make that much noise. But as soon as Trump started talking about this, then everybody is making noise about that, right?
And see, that is the whole problem. When the Liberals do it, it's okay. But when people who are not part of the Liberal agenda do the same thing, there's a problem.
Maliki, and these liberals, most of these liberals are these religious apologists. They have literally occupied all media outlets throughout the Western world, from BBC to VOA to Radio France to Radio Deutsche Welle, German. They are everywhere.
Yes,
and they are poisoning the minds of the Western audience.
Yes, and they control the media in this state too, with the exception, I have to say, of this programme, which is the only one that gives anybody a fair hearing, I have to say.
Well, I have to be honest, the liberal agenda, or this, when I say the snowflakes of society, are becoming dangerously in control of the media, and I can't. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail for the moment.
But you might be here tomorrow.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen that over the last 2 weeks. Yeah. That people are, and no matter how wrong or right you happen to be on radio now, if you say the wrong thing, you'll be fired.
Yeah.
If you say something that the Liberal agenda doesn't agree with,
you'll be
not
fired.
Not necessarily the wrong thing.
Mm.
So why this is happening? Why should everybody be politically correct?
Because that's the way the world is. And you know what's done it? It's social media. Social media has basically, I mean, there was a time on radio, in this country, and I can remember working back in 1998 on a radio station, and it was a similar type of show to this, okay? And when I look back, I still have all the old scripts that we used to use at the intro. Like, I have a script in front of me here, which kind of gives me a very brief outline of what I'm going to be talking about, right? And I would look back at those old scripts, and I look back and I go, Jesus Christ, how did we get away with that?
I have all the tapes as well.
In 1998, I know some of the stuff, was outrageous, right, by today's standards. But I can see now, particularly Hassan, in the last 2 years, and I consider this to be a kind of very open forum type show, because, okay, as a presenter, I do have an opinion. Okay, the broadcasting regulations tell us that we're not supposed to unless that opinion is being challenged. Thankfully, I'm in a position where I'm taking callers on the air, so my opinion can be challenged on a regular basis.
We'll always challenge you now.
Absolutely, yeah. So my opinion can be challenged, but it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter all the time.
And all this is
but in the one
done,
direction.
and all of this is being done to us in the name of respect, in the name of relativism,
Equality.
in the name of, I don't know. This is crazy. This further suppression of free speech is taking us into a dangerous black hole. And these I achieved, but they are being... I don't want to use the word treacherous, but they are being treacherous as far as the not Western, but the post-Enlightenment values are concerned. These media outlets, and can I say something even more radical, Niall? Mm-hmm. This current conflict between the Muslim world and the Christian world, in my view, is a clash between the Christian church and the Islamic mosque. And the Christian church is trying to regain or retain some of its own privileges, but in doing so, the church is giving privileges to the Islamic world, and the church is putting pressure on the free media, on school. Well,
I'll be honest with you. As a journalist, I have never felt any pressure from the church. Ever. I have talked about the Catholic Church, for example, on a regular basis. I have talked about Muslims and Islam on a regular basis, and I have never personally had any. I've never got complaints in relation to the Catholic Church or Christians, but I have had numerous complaints anytime we talk about Islam from Islamic and Muslim people. In relation to the other complaints that we get, it's 9 times out of 10 they're usually LGBT, or they would be talking about, say, stuff of a sexual nature or whatever. So that's usually this kind of stuff that we get to stop talking about. Okay, but hang on for a second. Just Maliki, stay there, please, and Hassan, stay there. I got to take a break. You can text us at 53544. After the break, I want to talk to Rima and also to Catherine as well. The question I'm simply asking you is, after it was announced today or yesterday in the Irish Independent, in the Times, and also I believe it was in the Mirror as well, in relation to this story, that are these individuals who carried out the bombing in London also looked at a number of locations in Dublin as well for an attack, but decided not to because Dublin would be best suited for logistical purposes and fundraising purposes to be a base. Text 53544. I'm asking you, on those grounds and the idea that it could have happened or might have happened or maybe would in the future, do you believe that we should have extra security or some sort of travel ban?
Real people, real opinions, real talk radio. The Niall Boylan Show.
Classic hits